Good morning. Afternoon. I'm sorry. I am so used to saying good morning. Oh, well. Bruce, thank you so much for the music and for keeping it rolling. All right, let's thank Bruce. Bruce King on the keys. All right. Welcome. A big, big, big welcome. Welcome to Emerson Unitarian Universalist members, friends, visiting clergy, and guests here with us in person, and those of you joining us online in the virtual room. Hi. My name is Ed Cosper, and I serve as a ministry associate here at Emerson. And I've just got a little story I want to tell you. The other day, a friend of mine asked me, she said, Ed, why are you going over there to the UU church? I said, well, you know, the people over there are very welcoming. They're very compassionate. They're the nicest people in the world. I said, we have shared values. We have shared principles. And I was like, wow. But I said, you know what the number one reason why I'm a UU right here in Emerson is? Because y'all like to eat. I'm just telling you, every time I look up, y'all are having something else to eat. And I love it. You know what I'm saying? It is my delight to welcome you to this very auspicious occasion as we finally and formally install our minister, Reverend Deborah Bennett. We've been waiting on this for 2 years. We're finally getting there. We are all in for a treat today as the Emerson community and the choir and an array of UU and guest clergy have been working hard to create this beautiful ceremony for us today. Now, it says here in my notes that I am supposed to add some personal comments and remarks. You know, I don't mind going off script. So I'm just going to say, y'all sure do look pretty. You dress up real good. All righty. And now, let us share in singing, Wake Now My Senses, as we welcome the clergy. Your lyrics and words are in your order of service. So if you'll rise now in body and spirit as you are able, and join us in singing.
Reach out to the Lord. Good afternoon. Wow. In specific, good afternoon, Emerson Unitarian Universalist congregation. It is humbling to again be in your presence as a minister who has been loved and respected by this community. And I've been around so long, I would say communities. But clearly you are one powerful congregation now. Congratulations. You can say amen. Amen. I also honor the sacred spirit that brought us together again after this traumatic time when we were apart from those we loved and cared about. I appreciate being in the presence of Reverend Deborah Bennett at this celebration of her career, surrounded by many of our colleagues, friends, and loved ones. Thank you for showing up. Yeah, you can clap. We need the gift of being present now in this moment. Our call to worship is by the recently transitioned, wonderful, wise woman of power and words, like the minister we are installing, bell hooks to most of us, and to some of us, Dr. Gloria Jean Watkins. We will use her words, and I have taken the opportunity or the license, whichever you decide, to alter them for this occasion. First, in her words, by bell hooks. I believe that this nation can only heal from the wounds of racism if we all begin to love Blackness. And by that, I do not mean that we love only that which is best within us, but that we also able to love that which is faltering, which is wounded, which is contradictory, incomplete. That's how Bell said it. As we bless this community on your anniversary with this official installation and call to worship into being, I believe that this Unitarian Universalist congregation and larger community can only heal from the wounds of racism, homophobia, ableism, classism, and other forms of injustice if we all begin to love Blackness, love queerness, people who move differently, people who are struggling with money, love people who are women and people who are vulnerable, hurting people. Did I leave anybody out? And by that, I do not mean that we love only that which is best within us all, but that we are able to love, or just try to love, that which is faltering, that which is wounded, that which is contradictory, and gets on our last nerve sometimes. Amen? Amen. and is incomplete but sacred. And while we do it, still stop to celebrate the good times. So may it be. Ashe and hallelujah.
Good afternoon. My name is Irene Scow, and I'm one of the senior youth here at Emerson. As we begin this special service, I invite you to pause with me as we light our candles of acknowledgement and remembrance. The first candle is an acknowledgement and remembrance for the Cherokee and Muskogee nations of people. The Cherokee and Muskogee people lived on this land before us, and we acknowledge their suffering and displacement, and we honor their continual spiritual presence here. We also honor the spirit of the many living creatures and life forms with whom we share this planet. We light our vigil candle in acknowledgement of the many who suffer in war and conflicts throughout our world. May we be humbly reminded of our interconnection and the impact of all our collective actions. May there be healing in all nations of people and living beings, and may peace prevail on our planet. And finally, we light our chalice. Its light is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism and a reminder of our commitment to be a beacon of love and hope in the world. Today's chalice lighting words are by Bruce Southworth. For the gift of this day and for our community of spiritual nurture and compassion, we give thanks. We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith. May our many sparks meet and merge in communion of heart and soul. Blessed be.
That was wonderful, thank you. I am the Reverend Allison Wilbur Eskildsen, and to begin, I bring you greetings from the Unitarian Universalist Association. Natalie Briscoe, lead for the southern region of our Unitarian Universalist Association, writes, Emerson Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Marietta, Georgia, your mission is to seek truths, celebrate differences, act on our UU principles, inspire the best in each of us, and serve the world. And I have no doubt in my mind that Reverend Bennett will be a wonderful partner with you in that difficult and joyous work. Because Reverend Bennett's background includes such a wide array of service of her own ever-evolving path to discover the truth, I am thrilled to see what, together, you can do next to grow Unitarian Universalism in Georgia and throughout the South. It is my honor to bring greetings from the member congregations in the southern region and lend our voices to the chorus of deep congratulations. Blessings on the next many years of ministry here and well wishes for a long and faithful journey together. From me, greetings. I am the president of the Southeast Unitarian Universalist Ministers Association, of which Emerson is a member of that chapter of the UU Ministers Association. It is my delight to officially welcome the Reverend Deborah Bennett to the region and to the larger Association of Ministers. This welcome, Deborah, comes well after your arrival at Emerson. So I want to acknowledge to the congregation that you have been an active member of your greater Northwest Georgia cluster of UU ministers, as well as an occasional attendee at the Southeast chapter retreats at the mountain. I highlight this because just as member congregations of the UUA covenant to affirm and promote our principles, we also make a covenant to be in relationship with one another. In the language of our Puritan forebears, we promise to walk together for mutual sustenance and support. Although this language comes from the 1648 Cambridge Platform regarding congregations, it is no less true that ministers covenant with each other. To use the words of the platform, quote, mutual care, consultation, admonition, participation, recommendation, and relief. Knowing you will continue to be a valued colleague, on behalf of the Southeast chapter, I welcome you and remind you that you are not alone. Let's walk together for many more years.
Shalom, everyone. My name is Rabbi Larry Cernovitz. I'm the Senior Rabbi at Temple Kolemeth here in Marietta, and we are celebrating our 40th anniversary in Cobb County, and it's an honor to stand with my friend and my colleague, Reverend Bennett. I want to begin by saying I love you. That's usually what the world does when you say that, is silence.
We love you too.
We live in a world that when you say, I love you, people look at you strange. That's not what faith teaches, though. If we are all indeed created in the image of God, then we should love each other because we're all sacred. So I'll try that again. I love you.
I love you.
Reverend Bennett, I think we have progress. I was listening to a podcast recently, and the definition of faith was offered as, you know you're on a team. You just don't know who all the other players are yet. And as you travel down that road, you begin to meet people. And all of a sudden, the other players begin to show up. You know, don't you? You can recognize them. Not everybody plays on the team, but you know who they are. And when you recognize the other players on the team, you have their back, and they have yours. And Reverend Bennett, you know we're on the same team because we have an incredible, beautiful clergy partnership here in Cobb, in East Cobb, and we stand up for one another. Because we know, as these beautiful, beautiful voices, that there are changes that are needed in this world. The last 2 days, I've been attending commemorations for Holocaust Remembrance Day. And last night, and Reverend Bennett would have come, but this is her installation weekend. She gets a pass. Welcome the Holocaust survivor who shared his story. He was born in Ukraine, and he spent the first year and a half of his life in a cave in Ukraine. And for a series of events, eventually he made his way to the United States and to Atlanta. And the story of hatred is so old. And silence is the worst enemy. We stand together against hatred, injustice, racism, discrimination, wherever it rears its ugly head. And that's the beauty of standing together. So before I offer a blessing, Reverend Bennett, I just want to remind us all is that the Hebrew Bible teaches you should love your neighbor as yourself. But it's only mentioned once. Love the stranger as yourself is mentioned 36 times. Because it's easier to love your neighbor than it is to love the stranger. Somebody who doesn't look like you, who doesn't practice like you, who doesn't have the same color or faith or sexual orientation or gender, which is why God repeats it over and over and over and over. I could go on, by the way.
He can. I will testify to that.
And that's why we're friends.
Yes, it is.
So I say today, love this incredible reverend, because guess what? She's human too. Support her. Guide her. Give her the benefit of the doubt. Treat her the way that you would expect to be treated by her. Because we all are imperfect beings, and we all try to do our best. And when I was ordained, I was told to comfort those who need to be comforted and irritate those who need to be irritated. So when she irritates you, don't get upset. Thank her. Because that's her job. Yeah, can I hear we say amen, but you can say however you do it. So, I love you, and I continue on behalf of the Jewish community. We stand in partnership with you and this incredible congregation. So I'd ask you to come forward at this moment. As Leonard Nimoy made it famous, but it was really the priests of the Hebrew Bible. If you would like to rise with me as we bless Reverend Bennett with the age-old Birkat Kohanim, the priestly blessing. And if your fingers are able, feel free to join me in this. So as you come forward, if you would bow your head for us. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmarecha. May God bless you and keep you and protect you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May God shine upon you and be gracious and kind to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God's face always shine upon you. May God's presence be in your heart and your soul, guide you, and grant you the most precious gift, the gift of shalom, of peace, of shlemut, of wholeness, and of completeness. And once again, we all say, Amen. Amen. Look out, this guy's up. He's got a lot to say.
Well, we were given 4 minutes and the rabbi took 5. So I have some comments I will offer to your beloved minister, but every time I get the opportunity to be at Emerson Congregation, you hold a very dear heart in the interfaith work here in Cobb County, and an even dearer heart in Unity North Atlanta. The work that is happening in this congregation, they often say that you're the head here in Cobb and we're the heart over at Unity. I don't know, but I know that we are partners. And even deeper in my heart has been your new minister, who found her way into the deep recesses of my heart and my congregation. She is so highly respected. I just have one question. What took you so long? You mean the world to me. And of all the interfaith partners that I have here, this is the one that I would run to. This is the minister that I would run to in my time of need. Deborah and the Baha'i faith have been there as I figured out how to do ministry, and I hope that we can be there for you as well. I'm going to make my comments short and just offer a poem. I went looking. We Unity people like to just get divine inspiration, and this found its way to my computer. It is a poem by Wayne Visser. I offer it to Emerson, to Reverend Deborah. Reverend, it's disrespectful to call you Deborah? Okay, you're my sister. Let's change the world. Let's shift it. Let's shake and remake it. Let's rearrange the pieces, the patterns and the maze, the reason for our days in ways that make it better, in shades that make it brighter, that make the burden lighter. Because it's shared, it is shared. Because we dared to dream and then to sweat it, to make our mark and not regret it. Let's plant a seed and humbly say, I changed the world today. Let's change the world. Let's lift it up. Let's take it and awake it. Let's challenge every leader, the citadels of power, the prisoners in the tower, the hour of needs upon us. It's time to raise our voices, to stand up for our choices because it's right, because we fight for all that's just and fair, for a planet that we can share. Let's join the cause and boldly say, we'll change the world today. Let's change the world. Let's love it. Let's hold it and unfold it. Let's redesign the future, the fate of earth and sky, the existential why. Let's fly to where there is hope, to where the world is greener, where air and water is cleaner, because it's smart to make a start to fix what we have broken, our children's wish unspoken. Let's be the ones who rise and say, we changed the world today. You have a minister before you that is about changing the world. In Unity, we teach consciousness, and you have a consciousness that is profound. It is deeply, deeply steeped in truth, Unitarian truth, but more universal truth than that. And we get to experience that in our interfaith community, and it is a blessing. I offer my final chant. I like to sing. I'm a singing minister. And the term Anamkara. Anamkara is a Celtic term that means soul friend. And I, on behalf of the Unity North congregation, have found a soul friend in your minister. I already had it with Kathy Middleman in the choir. But I offer this to you as the blessing from our entire congregation that is delighted to have you here. Anamkara, shine on thee. Anamkara, shine on me. Anamkara, where'er we roam. Anamkara will be our home. So shine, shine, shine. Yes, shine, shine, shine. We love you, we appreciate you, we bless you, and we behold the presence of light and love that you are, Reverend Deborah Bennett.
I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors the those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change. There is a hurting in my family, and there is sorrow in my town. There is a panic all across the nation, and there is wailing the whole world round. But I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change. May the children see more clearly, and may the elders be more wise. May the winds of change caress us, even though they burn our eyes. But I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change. Give me a mighty yoke to hold my confusion, and give me a desert to hold my fears. Give me a sunset to hold my wonder, and give me an ocean to hold my tears. But I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of
Call.
I have heard it all my life, a voice calling a name I recognized as my own.
Sometimes it comes as a soft-bellied whisper. Sometimes it holds an edge of urgency.
But always it says, "Wake up, my love, you are walking asleep." There's no safety in that.
Remember what you are, and let this knowing take you home to the beloved with every breath.
Hold tenderly who you are, and let a deeper knowing color the shape of your humanness.
There's nowhere to go. What you're looking for is right here. Open the fist clenched in wanting, and see what you already hold in your hand.
There is no waiting for something to happen, no point in the future to get to. All you have ever longed for is here in this moment, right now.
You're wearing yourself out with all this searching. Come home and rest.
How much longer can you live like this? Your hungry spirit is gone to your heart stumbles. All this trying, give it up.
Let yourself be one of the God-mad, faithful only to the beauty you are.
Let the lover pull you to your feet and hold you close. dancing even when fear urges you to sit this one out.
Remember, there is one word you are here to say with your whole being. When it finds you, give your life to it. Don't be tight-lipped and stingy.
Spend yourself completely on the saying. Be one word in this great love poem we are writing together.
Where is the sacred in this story? This is a question that your minister, the Reverend Deborah Bennett, and I often explored together. I met Deborah when she came to the Winchester Unitarian Society as our intern minister. I had the honor of serving as her supervisor. Like all good teaching and learning experiences, the mentorship was deeply mutual. Through our relationship, I too have grown, have been nurtured and challenged. So it is such a joy to be with you today to celebrate your covenant with the minister like Deborah. Where is the sacred in this story? How did this question come up so often? It is easy to get buried in the practical questions of ministry. What do you do if a committee meeting is going off the rails and you're not leading it? How do you write a eulogy about someone you never met and the family isn't sharing much? And then there are questions about ministry with the wider world. How do you reshape your Sunday service to pastor to a community reeling from the death of another unarmed Black person, or from an attempt to overthrow the government, or from news of war in Europe? How do you turn on a dime to shift to virtual operations when a global pandemic barrels down on your congregation? That was one question that Deborah and I never got to. And I will keep this in mind for future interns. In the midst of everything, it is easy to lose sight of one of the most important things a minister does: theological reflection. So I asked Deborah to regularly recount a moment in congregational life through a short written reflection, and when we met, to talk about how that moment somehow revealed the sacred. This is with the understanding that, like a prism, both of us, and each of us in this room, might observe a different color of what we would call the sacred in the same story. When Deborah first invited me to preach today, I vividly recalled one of her theological reflections. She has given me permission to share it, and in the interest of time, I only share a part. Deborah writes, "Last Thursday, I was like a little kid at Disney as I excitedly had my picture taken next to Ralph Waldo Emerson's grave. I love the feeling of being connected to those who have passed, who've been an inspiration." In her reflection, Deborah continues by acknowledging that her visit to Emerson's grave brought to mind other spiritual ancestors, including Jesus of Nazareth and Bapuji, her guru's mentor. These remembrances became most profound in a moment in that Sunday's worship service, bringing to mind the heritage of where we gathered, the Winchester Unitarian Society Sanctuary. Deborah affirms, "I felt the thread of life that ran through the church, the lineage of ministers who had stood where I was standing." Oriah Mountain Dreamer affirms in today's reading, "All you have ever longed for is here in this moment, right now. You are wearing yourself out with all this searching. Come home and rest." We are together today as Reverend Deborah has come home to rest among the good people of the Emerson Unitarian Universalist congregation. Beginning with a visit to Emerson's grave, you can see why this reflection came to mind today. But while referencing Emerson's life and death in a congregation named after him seems prophetic in the mystical sense, this reflection also came to mind because of how it speaks of presence and lineage. Whether we were born into this faith, or we found it, or it somehow found us, a rather common occurrence, in giving our convictions about the purpose of religion and the values that shape our lives the name Unitarian Universalism, we, all of us, open ourselves to the power and the presence of those who came before. They are known by names like Emerson and Theodore Parker, who wrote his sermons on a desk with a pistol, lest those enforcing the Fugitive Slave Act come for the refugee members of his congregation. Or the lesser-known Egbert Ethelred Brown, a Jamaican native who began a thriving Unitarian congregation in Harlem when Unitarian leadership denied him a pulpit due to the color of his skin. And Olympia Brown, and David Ferencz, and every minister who has served this congregation and preached in its pulpit. And so many of us come with spiritual histories that, like Deborah's experience in Winchester's chancel, beckon more than one emissary, Jesus and Hillel and Thich Nhat Hanh, and if we're lucky, a beloved teacher or family member. Let us give thanks that as this community and this minister celebrate coming and serving and growing together, it is with the courage, the wisdom, and the love of all the God-mad who've come before us. I share the story of Deborah's recollection of her spiritual leaders in the Winchester Sanctuary, not to suggest, as she assumes the role as your spiritual leader, that she is Jesus. Nor do I suggest that she is not. Nor do I suggest that each one of us here is not a spiritual leader. This story of community and minister and the bond between them, a relationship that began before but begins anew today, is at the heart of today's service. And if you are part of this congregation or a faith community, you have already sought to answer the sacred call that Mountain Dreamer speaks of. You too are one of the God-mad. You too embody unique and life-giving beauty as part of the great thread of life. You too have chosen to dance even when fear urges you to sit this one out. While Deborah joins this congregation in leadership, this is a community of spiritual leaders choosing one another. Ordination and installation sermons are often opportunities for the preacher to name how the faith needs to change to meet the needs of the day, or to grow beyond its limitations. It was the ordination sermon of Jared Sparks, where William Ellery Channing claimed the theological slur, Unitarian, as the name of his faith, and articulated the platform of this emerging religious movement. If this is the kind of insight you seek, I regret I will disappoint you. Today, I am inspired instead to simply remind us of the call, not just of Deborah's call to ministry or her call to ministry with you, but the call to covenant with the community of the Spirit and the call of such a community in the world. I recently heard a story that reminds me of our collective call as spiritual people. Those of ages past shared stories around the fire. Now we share them through podcasts. This story is from the podcast Criminal. Dan Stevenson and his wife live in an urban neighborhood with both the gifts and the challenges that come with city living. One issue is crime. Despite getting mugged, a drunk man stumbling on his back deck, and witnessing street crime as he goes about his day, Dan develops a live and let live approach. In colorful language, he explains how he trusts his neighbors more than the impulses of law enforcement. But there is one thing that Dan refuses to ignore. The city installed a concrete street divider across from his house. People in the neighborhood started using this open spot to dump their trash. As Dan observes, trash has a magnetic quality, inviting others to heap their garbage on the pile. Sometimes the spontaneous dump would be 8 feet tall. Calls to the city went ignored. Dan and his wife decided to do something. It was something that neither of them, and perhaps neither you nor I, would expect. They took a shot in the dark, and despite having, in Dan's words, nothing to do with Buddhism, they installed a statue of Buddha at the concrete divider. Perhaps then, this is not a story of theological reflection, but a story of theological intervention. It took a while to install the Buddha. After Dan's wife bought the statue at a hardware store, it sat in the basement for months, while Dan figured out how to prevent the Buddha from getting stolen. Eventually, Dan reinforced the statue with rebar and concrete, painted it white, and planted it so it faced his house in a place where he could look at it every morning. In time, Dan was not the only one to notice Buddha. One morning, Dan woke to find that the Buddha had been lovingly repainted gold. Slowly, the offerings of fruit, an orange, some pears, and then coins made regular appearances at Buddha's gold feet. Buddhist pilgrims into the neighborhood grew into a regular presence, about 70 strong each day. The Buddhist community eventually elevated the statue onto a platform and built a shelter around it, so the faithful can pray in all kinds of weather. On feast days, they bring Dan and his wife piles of food in gratitude for welcoming the Buddha next to him and into the community. Dan doesn't speak any Vietnamese, and they don't speak English, so he does his best to give his bemused thanks and to let the pilgrims know that the Buddha is theirs. Needless to say, the trash is gone. Since Buddha and his followers appeared in the neighborhood, crime has decreased by 82%. One could rightly say that what Dan did was problematic, that he exploited the piety of an immigrant community as a tool of gentrification. But I'm curious and encouraged and inspired by Dan's almost unconscious impulse to respond to the world's ugliness with a sign of the sacred, even if it's a symbol, not sacred to himself. Wendell Berry reminds us that there are no unsacred places. There are only sacred places and desecrated places. As Dan and the Buddha teach us, our work as spiritual people is to intentionally invite the sacred into places claimed by garbage. These places are sometimes physical, like a concrete divider, but these places can also be our social systems, our social media, sometimes our very hearts and minds. As the Buddhist pilgrims teach us, look for signs of the sacred in even unexpected places, and when you find it, give thanks. Create a sanctuary to protect us from the harshness of the world, and as we're doing today, gather, pray, feast, and celebrate. There is one more lesson in this story of the Buddha statue. When asked why he chose the Buddha, Dan replied, "He's neutral," arguing that a statue of Jesus would be too loaded and controversial. As I reflect on my own faith in this moment, I recognize that in the relatively short 28 years that I have been a Unitarian Universalist, I have seen much change. Paraphrasing former UUA moderator Ginny Van Corder, we are no longer confusing affirmation of the inherent worth and dignity of every person for belief in the inherent worth and dignity of every opinion. Unitarian Universalism is no longer neutral. Unitarian Universalism is taking sides, seeking to place those who live on the margins of society in the center, holding each other to account when any of us fail to recognize the disabled, the person of color, the queer, the poor as beloved, as sacred, as rightful spiritual teachers. While it is hard to be fully present to the pain that comes through marginalization and unlearning privilege in ourselves and in the world, while we might have the urge to sit this one out, this path beyond neutrality is a path towards truly responding to the needs of the day and allowing the sacred to gain ground. This is part of all of our work together. You do not dance alone. Where is the sacred in this story? This story you and Deborah have begun writing together, this story that has yet to be written. Whatever comes next, let Oriah Mountain Dreamer remind you, there is nowhere to go. What you are looking for is right here. All you have ever longed for is here in this moment, right now. Be one word in this great love poem you are writing together. Many blessings on this day and on your shared ministry.
Hi, my name is George Clare, honored to have served over this past challenging year as the president of the Board of Trustees, Emerson Unitarian Universalist Church. No right is more precious to a free congregation than that of choosing its own minister. By the same token, no right is more precious to a Unitarian Universalist minister than that of choosing the congregation she will serve. It is with profound feeling that we formally recognize the relationship now existing between the people of Emerson Unitarian Universalist Congregation and the Reverend Deborah Morgan Bennett, whom we have freely chosen and who has freely chosen us. We recognize that this act symbolizes a covenant between us.
Reverend Deborah Bennett. Together as a congregation, we have called you to live among us, to provide religious leadership, pastoral care, spiritual guidance, and compassionate encouragement in times of joy and in times of sorrow. We ask of you to preach the word of truth in freedom and in love, and set forth by your example the principles of our free faith. We look to you to partner with us and to guide us in living our values out into the world, so that together and in partnership with others, we can work for justice and peace in the world. Are you prepared to accept the invitation of this congregation to its ministry?
I do.
As we would ask you to be charitable toward our failures, please, so we will also remember that you are human and can falter. We recognize that we bear a responsibility in your material welfare and spiritual development. We pledge ourselves to maintain the freedom of both pulpit and pew. We pledge to assist and cooperate with you in our common growth and a religious life. We pledge to remember that the work belongs to us all.
Will the members of the Emerson Unitarian Universalist congregation please rise in body or spirit and recite with me? We, the members of Emerson Unitarian Universalist congregation of Marietta, are ready and willing to join you, the Reverend Deborah Bennett, in shared ministry. Therefore, we do install you as minister of this congregation and offer you our encouragement and assistance in discharging your duties among us.
You make me cry. Well, with deep humility, gratitude, and delight and joy, I take up the ministry to which you have called me. I pledge myself to you, to the history of this congregation, to its present, and to its future. In making this promise, I rededicate myself to the path of spirit, to the spirit of life, and to the spirit of love, which calls me to work for justice and to walk humbly upon our sacred earth. I pledge myself to cooperate with you in fellowship and to remove all the barriers we can find to love. And I love you guys so much.
We love you too.
It's not in the script, but I got to say that.
Will everyone please rise in body or spirit as you are able and recite with me words in your order of service. May our shared ministry be a source of joy and inspiration. May it contribute to the healing of individuals and our world. And may the spirit of life and love, known to us by many names, sustain and guide us all. Blessed be. And I left this paragraph down there.
It's okay.
My apologies.
What was that thing about accepting our faults? We just wanted to demonstrate that.
Got it. So you all may be seated. I see you already are. That's what I get for being slow. So Reverend Deborah, we have a few gifts that we would like to offer you at this time. And I invite Ginger White, our former Board of Trustee President, and Millie Fuller, our ministry associate of fellowship and longtime Emersonian, to come forward now.
That's it, George, you're good to go. Check. Oh, wait, one thing. Bring it in. Thank you. Okay, wait. Okay, Millie's coming.
Millie's coming.
You can, yeah.
So, Reverend Deborah, as you know, Emerson would not exist today if it was not for the inspired actions of a small group of dedicated Unitarian Universalists who had a vision for this congregation. And it's fitting that as we offer you this gift, that the founders who are with us today join us now. And let's give a hand to Fred and Marjorie Macy and Ed Miller. And I would also like to acknowledge the many folks who were part of Emerson in those early years that are here today, and also the people from the Marietta congregation who joined us and were a big part of who we are today. If they were at Emerson or Marietta in the 1980s during those first years, please wave. So because I was going to say stand, but
I see Vicki Eklund and Keith Eklund and Sandy Tax. Who else?
the Klein.
Beth Klein. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I think we can sit down now.
Yeah. So, Reverend Deborah, well, we'll wait until you are back up here for Reverend Deborah to come. Okay, when you came to us in August 2019, we were thrilled and excited. We had visions of what the next few years at Emerson would be. And then COVID hit, and we were all thrown into the unknown world of Zoom. You led us through those unknown times with grace, imagination, and zeal. Thank you. And earth tones were chosen for this stole because of your love of nature and the earth. People of the Emerson community signed the lining to symbolize that we are with you in this journey. And a gold heart is appliqued where it will lay over your heart, joining us in love and commitment. And of course, please accept this gift as a token of our appreciation of you and the wonderful leadership, spiritual guidance, and love that you have offered us through these challenging times. As you continue your journey as a spiritual leader, we are here to support and encourage you and to walk with you on that journey.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you, Marjorie and Fred and Ed, for making the journey here. It means so much to me to have you be part of this. I think Beth's coming up. Okay, you get a mic. You're going to need help. I think Beth needs help.
What do you give a minister who has everything? Rocks. Okay. Have we got our rocks? Okay. The big buckets? Got it. Okay. So, we have children who aren't here because the soccer field's beckon, and they had ballet recitals to practice for and presentations and all sorts of great stuff. But we have these volunteers who are going to go into the sanctuary, seated areas, and they'll start passing buckets of rocks. And I would love for you to take a rock. Now, are you familiar with the Kindness Rocks movement? So everybody else had those great sayings and quotes, famous you use. There are no rock blessings that I came about. But we want these rocks to honor you, to go home with our guests and our members so that they can put the rocks in places where it will bring joy and spread the message of peace, love, and joy that you want for your ministry here at Emerson. So, rock folks, go do your magic. We have another gift. On the day that there was it 100% vote? 100% of the people gathered voted to call you as our new called minister. And the day that we voted, Reverend Deborah, you had a lovely story that you created that day, and it had to do with the broken heart that was all patched together. So I've taken that heart and framed it with your picture in honor that you'll remember our day together today and for many, many years to come. So enjoy that. Yeah. How are we doing on the rocks? Thank you. Do we?
Hello, beloveds. I'm the Reverend Charlotte Arsenault, and it is a delight and an honor to be here today, not just because I adore your minister, but also because this is one of my spiritual homes, having been trained here by this fine man here, and having been ordained in this building several years ago. Thank you for having me back. As you have just heard, in Unitarian Universalism, it is the congregation that ordains and calls its ministers. It is the congregation who, in calling its minister, covenants to honor the unique and holy relationship created with their spiritual leader. And in accepting that call, the minister chooses to enter into that same covenant with the congregation. It is only from that place of mutual trust and concern that you can do together what you could not do alone. Reverend Bennett joins the brilliant legacy of ministers who have been called to serve Emerson throughout its history. Each of them changed Emerson in important ways, and each helped to bring you as a community to this moment in time. Together, in relationship with Reverend Bennett, you have the great joy and endless responsibility of creating something new, something that extends beyond the walls of this wonderful building and out into the world. You are called to, as Reverend Mark Morrison Reed tells us, unveil the bonds that bind each to all. The action of laying on of hands is a ritualized metaphor for those bonds and for the interconnection our faith calls us to recognize and serve. As with life, ministry is a give and a take. As your hands touch one another and connect to Reverend Bennett, her hands reach back out to you. And that exchange of energies connects us to one another and to all living things, spirit flowing through us as we agree to be in community and to be in relationship with one another. In a moment, I will invite you to come forward and place your hand on Reverend Bennett's arms, shoulders, hands, or upper back. Then concentric circles will form, each placing their hands upon the shoulder or arm of the one in front of them. Those who prefer not to participate physically, or those who are virtually at home joining us, you may participate by staying in your seats and placing your hand over your heart. We begin by calling Reverend Bennett forward. And I will begin by placing my hand on you. Now I call Reverend Bennett's spouse, Jim, forward.
Woo! We all know he loves this part.
Jim, Emerson, Deborah's colleagues, and especially Deborah, extend the deepest gratitude to you for the endless support that you have offered to her as she has answered Emerson's call. From uprooting your life to move to Georgia, to interrupted meals and plans, I am certain, you play an essential yet rarely recognized role as a minister's spouse.
Amen.
Thank you for all you do. Next, Deborah's colleagues, please step forward. As you know, ministers need ministering too. And your support for Deborah's ministry and for her spirit is a crucial part of her success at Emerson. As you place your hand on those in front of you, you represent the whole of her colleagues within the UUA, imbuing blessings upon her and this congregation. Next, we call the members of Emerson's search committee: Mark Horn, Ann Mason, Leslie McLean, Claude Fravian, Vicki Eklund, and Helen Hobson. You found Reverend Bennett and believed in her enough, had hope and faith enough to recommend her as Emerson's minister. And I dare say it was an inspired choice. Yeah, we're gonna circle around in front of her as well.
Let's make sure we bring up Richard and Iraj.
Yes, please, your colleagues as well. Thank you.
And Sarah, Drew, our intern.
Yes.
All you colleagues, come.
And now for the congregation as a whole, with the choir on the outside, please come forward. It is because of your gifts. Yes, please come forward. You can hold my shoulder, Reverend Bennett's shoulders, and all those in front of you.
Come on, Loretta.
It is because of your gifts of co-ministry and co-creation
Space right here, people. Come on, Kathy.
that Emerson is the warm, welcoming, justice-seeking spiritual home that it is. As you lay your hands upon the arm or shoulder in front of you, know that you are connected in heart, mind, spirit, and now in body and energy in nurturing this beautiful, beloved community. Now that our energies have joined, let us pray. Spirit of light and love, great mystery, we ask for blessings upon this community as they strive to live up to their highest ideals. May they honor their commitment to one another. May this settlement create ever-deepening wells of joy, tenderness, vulnerability, and love. May its people blossom as they grow deeper in their faith. May they strive always to do the next right thing on their journey towards justice. And as is a part of any relationship in their moments of struggle, may they remember this precious instant where their hands reached out for one another, their connection making them all the stronger. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be. You may be seated. Oh, no, sorry, we're not sitting. Sorry. We have one gift from the choir. I'm sorry. And amen, yes.
So we're going to invite everybody to join in as the choir gives us a om. So we're just going to om over each other to create a beautiful sound. So I just invite you to just raise your voice with the sound of om in any way that you would like. You can just keep the sound going so it layers over top of each other.
Beautiful, thank you. Now you can go back to your seats.
I am honored to participate in the installation ceremony for my friend, mentee, and colleague, the Reverend Deborah Bennett. Deborah, you asked me to deliver the charge to the minister. And although I might like to charge you with for my time and the gas that it took me to get here, that isn't what this charge is all about. In this context, a charge is a responsibility, something you are to go forth and do. In giving you this charge, I turn to the example of water. In Taoist tradition, we're advised to go with the flow, to move effortlessly around any obstacles that might block our way. I'm sure you're familiar with this wisdom. However, there are three other properties of water that I wish to draw from to illustrate the charge I give you today. First, water, if not contained, always flows downhill. Gravity calls it, pulls it from the top of a mountain down to the sea. It has no choice. You too are inexorably and undeniably called by a source of love and life to minister to a Unitarian Universalist congregation. Like water progressing towards the ocean, your ministry forms a journey. And just like water picks up essential minerals and undesirable debris on its journey, in your ministry, you will be exposed to essential, valuable elements and insights, as well as some undesirable debris. My first charge to you is to recognize what is valuable from what is not. Don't get anxious about the debris that comes your way. Remember, it is heavy and temporary, and you can let it fall by the wayside while continuing forward on a clear path. The second property of water is its ability to refresh us when we are thirsty. There will be times in your ministry when your spiritual well feels totally empty and dry. Ministers are known to work too long and take too little care of themselves. There is always another demand being made of you, another idea to follow, another mountain to climb. But if your well runs dry, if you are thirsty, so will your congregation. My second charge to you is to pay attention to your spiritual and emotional well and replenish it when it runs low. Refresh yourself regularly so that you maintain strength and good spirits. Take time for yourself and your family. Be a model for your congregation, because many of them likely need better self-care as well. Do I have an amen on that? Amen. Yeah. Water is flexible. It can conform to whatever container it's placed in. This third property of water best illustrates your accomplishments during these extraordinary pandemic times. Just a few months after your arrival at Emerson, everything changed. While you were just getting to know the congregation, you were forced to engage with them remotely. Worship and pastoral care had to be completely reinvented. Seminary didn't prepare us for pandemics. They didn't teach us about live streaming and Zoom bombing. They didn't teach us how to comfort someone or be present to someone nearing death when you can't be in the same room, much less touch them. But like water's adaptability, you adjusted. You, your staff, and members of the congregation together created a new container for ministry. You kept your community together through difficult times. My third and final charge to you is to remember that you've done well under these circumstances. You are strong. You are strong, creative, and resilient, just like water. And whatever lies ahead, with or without a pandemic, know that you are up to whatever challenges may present themselves. In summary, know what is valuable from what is not, refresh your spiritual reserves, and remember you've achieved much in trying times, and you will continue to do well. Blessings on your ministry.
Now comes your charge, so pay attention.
I think I was doing well until we were honoring the founding members and the long-term members of this congregation and the members of the Marietta congregation and all of you. And then the tears came, and you're going to hear a recurring theme in my words today on those remarks. Thank you. So, wow, It is wonderful. It is more than wonderful to be with you here today. I have dreamt of this day, knowing that you would and you did choose an inspiring minister to serve this congregation. So thank you for that. I could not imagine any other place to be today than right here, celebrating with you. Oh. In ministerial installation, the person giving the charge to the congregation should be someone who knows the congregation well. Well, I know a little bit about you. Maybe I know a lot about you. And it's good. It is really good. And so my charge to you today is to do 3 things. Things that you already know how to do, and you know how to do them well. First, I hope that you recognize what a strong and talented congregation you are. I know how much you love and I know how much you give to Emerson. And to be quite honest, this congregation thrives because of you. I need only think of Scott Dobler and bring to mind his spirit, his gifts, his energy, his passion, his talent for this congregation. And as I have prepared for today, I have reflected over the membership of this congregation. You were and you continue to be involved in Emerson. You are invested. I've seen it. You give to this place, and Emerson shines because of what you give. So first, draw on your many strengths of your love and your passion for this congregation. My second charge to you is to take full advantage of the many gifts and talents that Reverend Deborah brings. From a distance, yes, I peeked. I have already seen changes in the congregation, changes that are exciting, creative, and inviting, changes that your former minister was clueless about. This was an inspired choice. You have partnered with someone who is willing to try new things, and you have already been and you will continue to be rewarded for it. Listen to her wisdom. Please. My third charge to you is to be visionary. When a new minister arrives, it is an opportunity for reflection about who you are and who you wish to be. And if there is anything that is needed for today, for what ails our nation, it is a vision of community, a vision of equity, a vision of justice. So if I were to bring all 3 of these charges together and to put them in context, I don't need to remind you, others have done that COVID has changed things in congregations. Congregations everywhere are recreating themselves. You will want to think about who you are and who you wish to be with Reverend Deborah as your minister. You will use the many talents of this congregation and those of Reverend Deborah to explore the ways to be even more welcoming than you already are. You will want to ask, what are the present needs of our members and of our prospective members and of this community and our nation and the world? By way of conclusion, I invite you to remember that Emerson is a beacon, not a bunker. You are a shining light in Cobb County, and by sharing the ministry of the congregation with Reverend Deborah, your light will continue to shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Amen. May it be so.
I know this kind of ceremony and service is long, and I thank you for staying with us. As you can see, each speaker is just so precious, and I am so grateful that each of you have offered your wisdom. And though it's not traditional for a newly installed minister to introduce the offering recipient, I wanted to be the one to speak today about the two organizations which I'm going to invite you to support. Because the first is an organization that has been near and dear to my heart and actually integral to my formation as a minister. It's called Voices from Inside. I've spoken about them from the pulpit, so some of you may have remembered that. They're a nonprofit based in Springfield, Massachusetts. They provide weekly writing workshops for incarcerated women and formerly incarcerated women, helping them to find their voices and reclaim their place in society. And I had the good fortune to facilitate their sessions and get to know these incredible women who showed amazing courage and humility in the face of extremely challenging times. I saw firsthand how the work of Voices from Inside truly saves lives. It touches my heart to know that together we will support them so they can continue this good work. And the second organization our offering will support today is the Unitarian Universalist Association's Living Tradition Fund. This fund is managed by the UUA and is designed to provide need-based scholarships for theological students, school debt repayment support, and emergency assistance for UU ministers. It helps make the high cost of becoming a minister more affordable to those who may otherwise not be able to pursue the call. The offering will be shared equally between these two worthy causes, and I thank you for your support. The offering will now be gratefully received. Thank you, Bruce. 2.5 years ago, when the Committee on Healthy Ministry began the planning for this installation, the world was a different world, and Emerson was a different Emerson. There are those alive then that are only with us in spirit now. I remember Mike Klein out at the welcome table, and Annie Atherton, who used to sit right back there, and Lindy Moot, whose smiling face could usually be somewhere in the middle. And there are other dear folks who have moved away or headed off to other adventures. The pandemic and time has taken so much. But time gives as well. And there are beautiful faces here who would have missed this event had it happened 2 years ago. There are colleagues whom I had yet to meet back then, colleagues with whom I now share wonderful memories. And I know in each of your lives, similar changes have taken place over these years. You've had to say goodbye to some very important people in your lives, and you've gotten to say hello to others. You have faced illness and surgeries and job changes and relationship changes and new babies and graduations and so much more. Together, we have gotten to know each other as we have watched the world change around us. We have stood together out on our sidewalk and at school board meetings seeking to create a just world. We have explored all vulnerabilities and gone to new spiritual depths. We have navigated PPP loans and leaky roofs. I look back there, they know who I'm looking at. So my benediction this afternoon is this. First, thank you. Thank you for loving each other through all of these changes. And thank you for loving me and welcoming Jim and I into this beautiful, beautiful family. We are not the same as the day we met, and that is how it should be. And neither will we be the same tomorrow, for we do not know what changes tomorrow will bring any of us. But for now, in this moment, in this place, let us rest in the sacredness of each other's company, just as it is. To paraphrase a Quaker saying, we do not know if we shall pass this way again, so let us not miss the opportunity to celebrate. So let's end this service with a beautiful celebration. Please rise and body your spirit. We have had the grace to have this amazing choir with us and amazing musicians, Kathy Middleman, Bruce King. Just thank you so much. We are all going to go out with one more hymn. Thank you. Let us join hands.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. All join hands, join me, brother. Brother, sister, together. All join hands, join me, sister. Brother, sister, don't you know that the world is one? Come on, brother, we must join hands. The work of justice has just begun. Come on, sisters, we must join hands. Every people in every land. All together we must join hands. The time has come now to join our hands. Join our hands. Humanity is all around us, and charity lives within us. Equality is waiting for us. We must all join hands. Join me, sister. Humanity is all around us, and charity lives within us. Equality is waiting for us. We must all join hands. Join me, brother. Hallelujah. Sister, together. All join hands. Join me, sister. Brother, sister, together. All join hands. When I know you and you know me, come on, brother, we must join hands. We can find our shared humanity. Come on, sister, we must join hands. We'll have peace when we understand. All together we must join hands. That the time has come now to join our hands. Join our hands. Join our hands. Humanity is all around us, and charity lives within us. Equality is waiting for us. We must all join hands. Humanity is all around us, and charity lives within us. Equality is waiting for us. We must all join hands. We must all join hands. We must all join hands. All join hands.
Please join me in saying the chalice extinguishing response printed in your order of service. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world until we are together again.
Amen. Uh-huh. Yay, yay. And a rah-rah. We got you. Okay, good. Okay, so here's what we got to do. I was told that something is in effect that I got to do. Dear friends, thank you for joining us for this incredible ceremony. We would hope that you plan to stay with us for the party, because the party has really just begun, and in a moment we'll invite you to exit the sanctuary and gather on the back patio for cocktails, punch, and light nibbles, while our sanctuary is transformed to a dining space. So I'd ask the persons that are involved in transforming the sanctuary, you may take your leave now so that you can begin to do that, and even the ones who are doing the hostessing out, you can take your leave now. The other thing I might say is that in 20 minutes, we're going to have Karen Abel to signal us that the dinner is ready, and we will get all ready to enjoy an authentic paella dinner.
And that's going to actually be in like 10 minutes.
That's going to be 10 minutes, I heard. We're going to get this
The paella's ready. The paella chef's like, you got it.
we got to get this place turned over. So, with that being said, I just want to say thank you to all the volunteers. The ushers are going to excuse you by roll, but we would like for you to exit by this south door, and then you'll just go to your left and go out to the patio. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being with us. Thank you, Reverend Deborah.